And the global warming alarm is dressed up as science, but it's not science. It's propaganda.
You began by denying that there is a consensus on the science. There is a consensus on the science.
I've often heard it said that there is a consensus of thousands of scientists on the global warming issue and that humans are causing a catastrophic change to the climate system. Well, I am one scientist, and there are many that simply think that is not true.
You began by there is a consensus on the science.
So you must have been listening to our testimony that we've had for the last few days with dozens of experts that have come in who have given completely different views.
Well,
so I would encourage you to go back and look at the testimony this committee's heard.
There are people who still believe that the moon landing was staged on a movie lot in Arizona.
If we look at climate through the geological time frame, we would never suspect CO2 as a major climate driver.
None of the major climate changes in the last 1,000 years can be explained by CO2.
We can't say that CO2 will drive climate. It certainly never did in the past.
I see absolutely no evidence that CO2, carbon dioxide, is causing any warm-up in temperatures. I don't think it's happening. And Al Gore is basing this whole carbon trading thing, this carbon credits thing, on that idea. And so I'm not making a charge, I'm asking the question. If Al Gore knows that CO2 forcing is invalid, isn't really happening, and he goes ahead and sells these carbon credits for millions of dollars, is he committing financial fraud?
And neither of us is one of those, and I know you like giving those cute anecdotes. This is not a cutesy issue. We're talking about export millions of jobs out of our economy, out of our country, and testimony's been given just to those numbers.
Man-made global warming pollution causes global warming. That's not a cutesy issue. It's not an open issue.
It's your opinion. Obviously, you've stated it many times. Would you talk to the
opinion of the global scientific community?
The CO2 increases in the atmosphere as a greenhouse gas, then the temperature will go up. But the ice core record shows exactly the opposite.
There are warnings now of a far worse catastrophe, and they're coming from a unified IPCC representing the global scientific community.
The IPCC, like any UN body, is political. The final conclusions are politically driven.
This claim that the IPCC is the world's top 1,500 or 2,500 scientists, you look at the bibliographies of the people and it's simply not true. There are quite a number of non-scientists.
And to build the number up to 2,500, they have to start taking reviewers and government people and so on, anyone who ever came close to them. And none of them are asked to agree. Many of them disagree.
Those people who are specialists but don't agree with the polemic and resign, and there have been a number that I know of, they are simply put on the author list and become part of this 2,500 of the world's top scientists.
Okay.
WorldNet Daily reports that more than 31,000 U.S. scientists, including 9,000 PhDs, have now signed a petition rejecting global warming, the assumption that human production of greenhouse gases is damaging Earth's climate. My question, what is the White House reaction to these 31,000 U.S. scientists?
In the period between 4,000 years ago and back to the period 2,000 years ago, which is actually the Roman age, the temperatures have been decreasing in Greenland by 2.5 degrees. Then temperatures increased gradually up to a maximum point around the medieval warm period, we call it 1,000 years ago, and then temperatures declined and goes down to a minimum around 1650 AD, comes back up a little in the 18th century, and then around 1875 we have the lowest point in the last 8,000 years, right here, and that matches exactly the time when meteorological...
This glacier has been here for countless generations.
And now it's melting. If we don't stop the sea level rising, millions of people will be in danger.
It's my understanding that back in 1997, when you were vice president, Enron's CEO, Ken Lay, was involved in discussions with you at the White House about helping develop this type of policy, this trading scheme. And is that accurate? Is it inaccurate? It's been reported.
I don't know, but I met with Ken Lay, as lots of people did, before anybody knew that he was a crook.
Right, Goldman Sachs. Well, if you're not. Either way, Enron clearly had an interest in doing this when they were around. We saw what they did. And when you see the types of people involved in wanting to set up this kind of scheme, you can see why so many of us are concerned about turning our energy economy over to a scheme that was devised by companies like Enron and some of these Wall Street firms that affect our financial economy.
I don't really know. You want me to respond to that? I guess what you're trying to say, guilt by association, is that
not association? I'm saying that there are going to be big winners and big losers in this bill, and that's been discussed by everybody talking. Big winners and big losers. But some of the big winners are some of the very financial experts that help destroy our financial marketplace. And I think that should be noted, that companies like Enron helped come up with this trading scheme that would
Enron didn't create this proposal in any way, shape, or form.
Well, the details are not in this bill. The details are not in this bill, and I would suggest that they are.
If drastic measures aren't taken soon, by the time I grow up, there won't be any fish left in the sea. Rainforests and clean air will be a thing of the past. Polar ice caps will be gone. Oceans will rise. Entire countries will disappear. Life will change in ways you can't even imagine. There could be famine, worldwide epidemics. Life expectancy will be lower. And we're not just talking about the future. We're talking about my future. But this is no surprise. You adults have known about this for years. And though you could have done something about it, you haven't. You can say, it's not my problem. You can say, I won't be around in 50 years. But from now on, you can't say I didn't know. Starting today, the lines are drawn. You have to choose sides.
He's rapidly disintegrating. He attempts to spread his weight, but the ice that has supported him all winter is rapidly disintegrating. Each year, as the climate warms, the Arctic holds less ice. This is a disaster for polar bears. Without its solid platform, they can't hunt the seals they need in order to survive.
I talked earlier about this network, and one of that network is called the Club of Rome, set up in 1968. People like Henry Kissinger, by the way, Henry Kissinger, massively part of this over the decades, is involved in all of them, and he's involved in the Club of Rome and connects into the Rockefellers and all the people I've been talking about. And its job has been to manipulate the environmental movement. In 1991, its founder, the founder of the Club of Rome, Pecci, was quoted as saying in a Club of Rome document, he said, in searching for a new enemy to unite us, we came up with the idea that pollution, the threat of global warming, water shortages, famine and the like would fit the bill. Here's another member of the Club of Rome. And that's why the official story for climate change, carbon emissions caused by humans, is as much a nonsense as the official story of 9/11. It is a problem, and the solution is international law, more and more taxation to save the planet, more and more imposition of the big brother state to save the planet. It's a little thing you start to learn about this guy, Al Gore. If he's involved, it's a scam. End of story, by the way. End of story, by the way. It's a scam. For his Inconvenient Truth documentary, let's just redesignate what documentary means on that criteria. He was given the Nobel Peace Prize and the Oscar. Why? Because this network controls that. You know if it's a scam as well, because Madonna's on the stage singing about it, right?
going back in time now, 650,000 years. Here's what the temperature has been on our Earth. Now, one thing that kind of jumps out at you is, did they ever fit together? Most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. The relationship is actually very complicated, but there is one relationship that is far more powerful than all the others, and it is this. When there is more carbon dioxide, the temperature gets warmer.
Global warming is real.
It's got an 800-year lag, so temperature is leading CO2 by 800 years.
Carbon dioxide is not the cause of that warming. In fact, we can say that the warming produced the increase in carbon dioxide.
CO2 clearly cannot be causing temperature changes. It's a product of temperature. It's following temperature changes.
Global warming is real.